Alright, today we're going to take a look at a VOD review for Anna who is around Silver 1 slash Gold 5 based on the new rank system after the rank reset here in Season 9. This is going to be on Numbani, and we're going to take a look at the post over in the AnaMains subreddit. Basically, this is somebody who's a little bit new to the game and they feel like they've ranked higher than they deserve to be and are wondering what to do from here. So, hello everyone, I have about 200 hours in the game. I've played a wide variety of heroes. My most played are Bastion and Lucio. After the comp rework, I've started playing more comp, mostly as support or tank. Since Overwatch is the first FPS I have played seriously ever, I don't understand why I'm ranked so high. As you will see in the replay, my aim is atrocious and so is my positioning and game sense. You will frequently see me whiff melee range shots on critical health allies, miss my biotic grenade by a mile, and be out in front of my entire team during a team fight. I will frequently wave my cursor everywhere. This is in response to me thinking there's a sniper or a flanker somewhere. When I get dived, it's pretty much game over for me. Well, there are some things in that paragraph alone that are actually pretty normal. First of all, the reason that you're ranked so high is that they do tend to rank you around gold when you're ranking for the first time, especially after the reset. They were mentioning that they were going to be pushing people to rank around gold and then fall or climb from there, so that's not too surprising. Melee range shots, whipping melee range shots on Anna is actually pretty normal as well because she does better when she's far away. So the closer you are to me as an Anna, the harder you are for me to hit. So that's actually not that unusual. And when you get dived, it's pretty much game over for you. That's pretty common, especially when you're newer to playing Anna. So don't stress about any of that. We can work, and we can work with the other things that you've mentioned. Despite my errors, my rank is rapidly approaching gold. I am now only one win away from gold 5, which I'm sure will bring untold horrors upon my win rate. I love the dramatic flair of this post. It's really good. This is making it really enjoyable. I'm ranked bronze 4 for tank, which I think is a much more accurate reflection of my skill. What can I improve about my Anna playstyle to ensure I don't get completely destroyed in gold? I know I have some things to work on. Positioning. I know being in the back is good for supports. I'm not sure if high ground is good, though. I know soldier is really good on high ground. High ground is good for Anna, but it's hard for her to get there since she doesn't have mobility. Sleep dart. When should I sleep? I miss my sleep dart a lot in the game, and I'm not really sure when to use it. I mostly use it on tanks or just fire it into a group of people. Not really the optimal way to use it, but we'll go over that in the video. Grenade. I try not to use it too defensively and try to purple a lot of enemies. Good, that's what you should be doing. However, I usually only get one or use it to save my tank. That's still not bad. How can I position or play better to lead to better grenades? Stats, I know it isn't as important, but why are my stats so low? My brother, Shay, in the game, played Moira and had some absurd stat line like 22k healing and 13k damage and 39 kills. Meanwhile, I had 2 kills, 2k damage, and 8k healing. As an Ana player, don't compare your stats to a Moira. First of all, stats do not matter. Just like you said, I know it isn't important. Moiras are able to inflate their stats really easily because of the abilities Moira has. So even if you see Moira with a crazy amount of kills and damage and everything, it's mostly because her orbs bounce around through groups of people. So don't compare yourself to a Moira. Your stats will be drastically different than a Moira's stats. With all that being said, though, let's take a look at the game. Before we even get out the gates here, the most important thing, or maybe not the most important thing, but a very important thing to do when you're getting started in the game is take a look at the composition of your team. So right out the gate, you should be thinking, based on your team composition, how the match might go. I'm not gonna get too advanced since you are saying that you feel like you play around a bronze level, so there's probably some things that might not really be worth it for you to try to work on quite yet. But thinking of playing Ana, you have a Moira on your team, you have a Mei, a Genji, and a Sigma. Now, Moira can be fine with Ana. They don't have a lot of compatibility, but they can work well together. Mei is, sort of hit or miss. She can be very good, especially when working as an off tank, but she doesn't particularly have any synergy with Ana. Genji, of course, you probably know about the Nano Blade combination. That's a classic. And then Sigma is not my favorite tank to play with Ana. They don't have synergy at all, but Sigma is really strong in this patch, so we won't complain about the Sigma. Um, but thinking about who to nano when you can see this team, you'll probably want to be trying to combo your nano with the Genji. You can also nano the Moira when she's doing coalescence. And other than that, just use it to save a teammate if they're going to die. I personally like to start out the right side door on this map. It provides you some better cover so you're not staring the enemy in the face like this when you first come out the door. I don't think you've taken a single scope shot yet. You're just shooting her projectile thus far, which isn't the worst, but let's see what happens from here. It's gonna be easier for you to hit your scope shots probably. Scope shots are hit scan while her unscoped shots are projectiles. So with the unscoped shots, you have to be more careful to sort of anticipate where your shot's gonna land. Whereas if you're scoped in, your hit scan shots will shoot exactly where your cursor is at that time. I know that some people have a harder time with hit scan. To me, I think it's a lot easier to hit your scoped shots, however. You got lucky with that because the Sigma was using his suck, which would have eaten your sleep dart. It finished just as you shot the sleep dart. So that's something, I mean, this might be a little bit advanced at the moment, but thinking about the abilities the enemy team has to ruin your abilities is important too. So if you're looking at this enemy composition, the Sigma's suck and shield are going to be really detrimental to you. Sigma's shield can block your nade in your sleep, of course, and his suck can eat your nade in your sleep. And sort of when Ana is without her nade in sleep, she's vulnerable, extremely vulnerable, just sort of wide open. Especially when you have flankers on the enemy team. You have a Sombra, you have a Lucio, and maybe this Reaper will come after you as well. These three, if they know what they're doing at all, they're going to be coming after you probably most of the game. And you need to save your abilities to defend yourself. You mentioned in your posts that when you get dive, it's game over. And that's something to think about. You don't want to be throwing your abilities away willy-nilly when you have people who are going to be targeting you. Something with Reaper I'll suggest. I'm not sure if it would have helped you too much here, but you know how he came back to get you. You threw your nade right away. Something I would suggest to help you stay alive against a Reaper is wait for him to do his fade ability. If you nade him, he can fade right away and it will cleanse the ability like it never happened, and then it's on a long cooldown and you're going to die. So what you want to do is get a few shots on him first, and then after he'll feel a little bit desperate, he'll fade, and then you can throw your nade, and then you'll prevent him from getting any more healing, and you can probably finish him off, or at least make him retreat so he's not bothering you anymore.
You'll have to try harder than that.
Let's see. I do notice that if you take a look at alt charge, you're definitely not hitting as many of your shots. I know you mentioned aim. We can go over some aim resources if you think it'll be helpful too. You can see that your teammates, not so much your Genji, but the rest of them have their alts almost already, and you're down at 30%. So that is a bit indicative that you're not hitting too many shots here. I think trying to scope in a little bit will help with that, and learning to quick scope will probably help a little bit with that too. You want to regroup with your team here, so you're out right in front. This is very, very, very scary. You didn't die, so that's good. But it was good that you retreated and realized what you were doing and waited for your team to come back in here. There's a nice try on the sleep. He's pretty difficult to sleep when he's doing that because he sort of has like a free flying arc that's a little bit hard to hit with your sleep projectile. But nice try. I always try to hit those as well. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. It's really team saving. It feels really good when you hit the sleep on the alting Sigma. In that instance, I would have come out. Oh, can I not do it? Let me do a free cam here. So you came right back out here where the enemy team was, but there's also a door right here. I'm not sure if this comes down to game knowledge. You said you had about 200 hours in the game, so I feel like you probably know most of the maps well enough. So just keep in mind your pathing. You came back out here where you were facing down all of them when you could have retreated a little bit more. It looked like you were aiming to retreat. You just didn't quite go about it the right way.
I'm not finished.
I think we're a few minutes in, and I still haven't seen you do a single scope shot yet. Nice purple on there. You helped with that Baptiste kill.
Surrender to my will.
Something I'm noticing that's a little bit odd about your grenade arc, and I think that this will help you hit more people with it, since you mentioned that's something you struggle with, is you're shooting straight ahead when you throw your nade. You want to aim upward a little bit. It has an arc to it. It's not a straight shot. If you aim upward, you're going to hit a lot more people with your nade. You can also splash off walls to people standing under the wall. It's a little bit trickier. It's something to work on, but especially in this Sigma meta where there's going to be a lot of shields, I'll see if we can find a good example of it moving forward, and I'll show you what might be a good example. But just try to aim upward a little bit, so don't just keep your cursor straight ahead of you. Nice, you guys are taking the point. Let's see if they come back to contest it. I think I heard a Reaper. Did I? I must not have. Sometimes you're haunted by the Reaper for so long that you start hearing him in your sleep.
You're powered up. Get in there.
I wouldn't really say the Nano on the Sigma was the best move. Sigma is actually not very much affected by Nano. He's not the best Nano target, and the timing was a little bit strange here. I mean, the enemy team is... Let me see, let's free cam again. The enemy team's kind of pushed back here. It's not the worst. He can probably pick off a couple of them. You do want to try to make a play with your Nano, though. So in this case, I would have gone with the Genji. He has his ult. You can see by pushing tab that he has his ult ready, and he's going to be a little bit more mobile than this Sigma, who now has to float around the corner and try to get out here. He can throw his orbs. They only have a certain distance to them, and he sort of wasn't really in a position where he looked ready for it. But that kind of thing is going to come in time with the longer you play Ana. You'll start getting the feel for when to Nano. That being said, Ana builds her Nano pretty quickly, so don't feel too bad about wasting. You probably wasn't going to waste, but using your Nano liberally, don't hold it for too long. You should always Nano pretty quickly after getting it. But yeah, it's not bad to stay back here away from your team. Yeah, you don't want to... Let's see, I'm going to go back a second so we can take a look at that one more time. So see this bus right here? This bus is going to be your friend when the enemies are right in front of you here. What you did was rotate out to stand in the street where you have absolutely no cover. But if you stand closer to the bus over here, then it's going to help cover you so that the enemy can't shoot you as much. Yeah, so you might have been trying to save your Sigma here. I'm not sure with where you threw the nade. I'm guessing that's what you were going for. He's okay though. He's still above half health, and you are very exposed in a very scary spot.
The light becomes me.
I wanted before.
Something else is you shouldn't. I've noticed this a few times as well. You're using your nade a lot to heal your teammates when you feel like they're low, and I think this might be a symptom of your aim. I think you are afraid that if you don't use your nade, your teammates are going to die because you're afraid that you're going to miss your shots on them. Um, I don't know where I read or heard this, but I once heard a very wise person say that your nade should not be a crutch for bad aim, and that's absolutely true. Your grenade is so important. Absolutely is a fight changer. It can absolutely end big fights just single-handedly with your one cooldown ability, not even an ult or anything. So you need to make sure you're putting some thought behind where you're throwing it and when you're throwing it. Using it to heal your teammates is not a very good use of your nade. So if at all possible, you want to just heal them with your gun unless they're in a situation where they're going to die, unless you don't nade them and give them the healing boost that comes with the nade.
What is that melody?
Yeah, your Genji was critical for a while, and you didn't heal him, and you eventually just threw a nade on him. So I think that's what's going on here. And if you had your nade here in this grab, you would have been able to save your team. Well, with how things are in Season 9, I'm not 100% sure how much of your team you would have been able to save just because everything's taking a lot more damage now, but you would have at least saved some of your team with the nade, but you had it on cooldown because you threw it on the Genji. I don't believe we have still seen a single scope shot. And here's kind of a strange question. Are you just holding down your primary fire without letting go? I know that you can do that with Ana. I would say that mm, almost no Ana players probably play that way. You want to be clicking with every shot that you make. It's going to make you a lot more accurate if you do. I've asked because it sounds like you're very rhythmically just holding it down, and I don't see a lot of variation in your shots. And that might be why you're not scoping, because you're just holding down the trigger, essentially.
My will.
You're powered up. Get in there.
We haven't seen too much presence from the Reaper trying to flank you. He's probably gonna... Oh, he doesn't fall. Nice try to sleep him. That would have been a good sleep. I mean, if he had been about to get away. Aim will get better with time, so we're not gonna critique the aim or anything. Aim's something that you'll just have to play more and work on to get better at over time. You tried to throw the sleep on the Zarya. I know you mentioned in your post that you weren't quite sure who to sleep or when to sleep people. That would have been a really low value sleep, because I'm sure you're aware that when you sleep someone, if your team does even one damage to them, breathes on them, sneezes on, the person's going to wake up right away. Everyone on your team is focusing on the Zarya. Most likely, this didn't happen, but most likely she would have... Actually, I don't remember if she did or not. She's probably going to bubble when you're looking at her anyway, so that's going to probably block your sleep. So Zarya is honestly a really tricky target to sleep a lot of the time with her bubbles. She will block it most of the time. So save your sleep. They still have some flankers, so you want to try to use it to protect yourself. Randomly sleeping the tank, it can be good in certain circumstances. Usually I'll sleep the tank if they're doing a lot of work on my team and I need to reload. I'll sleep the tank to give my team like a second to breathe while I'm reloading my gun. But in most cases, just sleeping the tank just when they're walking down main at you isn't going to be the most optimal use of the skill. This Lucio would have been good to nade this Lucio and Sombra as they come to attack the point. If you had your nade, it would have been good to nade on them, but you, I think you used it on... Let me see where you used it really quick. Yeah, you threw it on your Sigma, who was... I think you were aiming for the Sombra. So I was going to say, you threw it on your Sigma, who was full health, but I think you were trying to hit the Sombra with it. But this Lucio's a way better target because he heals himself quickly. And it would have gotten the Sombra too since he was right there. I know you're duoed with the Moira, so I'm assuming you guys are communicating with one another. And actually, nanoing Coalescence is not a bad idea. Now, for your duo, advice for your duo is that you probably don't want to typically use Coalescence for attacking a lot of the time. You want to use it at a point where it's going to hit both your team and the enemy team. But if you nano Coalescence, it can be really powerful. So don't be afraid. Just because Moira's a support doesn't mean you can't nano her. I nano other supports all the time.
Barrier's nearly spent.
Enough whining. You're fine.
Are you a Reaper? Ooh, that's too bad that you got booped into that. But everyone was dead anyway, so... Let me see what you did with your sleep. I know I said I hear Reaper, but I didn't. You tried to sleep him. Okay, that's a good instinct. You should always be trying. That's one of the ults you should always be trying to sleep. It gets easier to sleep Reapers. They're pretty predictable. The more you practice, you'll figure out exactly when they're going to ult. As soon as I heard the Reaper footsteps, I knew he was coming to ult, so you'll gain those instincts as well over time. Your nade didn't hit because you're aiming straight ahead with it. You also were directly in front of your team again, so just be careful to let them go ahead of you. You don't need to walk out there first. Just wait for your tank. Just let them walk out ahead of you. You don't need to be the hero. I mean, you do. You are the hero, but you're sort of the hero from the shadows. Not in the limelight. Let's see what happens here. They have hack and they have what is it, sound barrier? I call Lucia's alt something silly. I believe it's sound barrier. Yeah, you want to nade your team. Oh, you don't have it. But at that point, it was a little late, so that nade was a little late. Everyone's still alive except your Genji, who's, you know, that was a little unavoidable, I think.
You're powered up. Get in there.
You got the last minute nano off there. Always feels good. Alright, let's see what happens in round 2. We'll see, especially on defense on this map. This can be a tricky map, so you guys don't actually have too much of a hard time attacking. Whoa. You don't have too much of a hard time attacking, which is nice for you. This map can be exceptionally hard to both attack and defend the first point, just depending on where you position and what your composition is. So you have Orisa now, and your other DPS hasn't chosen yet, which is alarming since you're already standing on the point and there's 5 seconds left. That's going to put you at a disadvantage. When you're on defense, you should be thinking of where you're going to set up. This is not a place that's going to help you. So something about Overwatch, and I could go on about this for a long time, is you want to find a defensible position and defend it. As I was saying, this map is hard to defend upon. You're going to see most Ana's play here. I personally don't like this position, especially if you're in a lower rank, because if the enemy team has a diver, they're going to come after you first. They can get to you fairly easily. Anyone with mobility can get to you easily up here. And in low ranks, your team is not going to peel for you, and your aim might not be reliable enough to deal with the flanker yourself. So while this is a really popular position for Ana, I don't recommend it probably at your rank, but it would be better than where you are right now. What I recommend in silver, maybe even low gold, and it's going to depend on where your team's set up, but when I was at lower ranks, I had a lot of success actually positioning over here. You can't get a lot of damage out on the enemy, and so when you rank up a little bit more, I don't recommend doing this anymore. But if you're at lower ranks and you're gonna have the enemy team probably coming around back and your team not noticing, it it's okay to position back here and make sure that you're healing your team who are going to be up on high ground a lot of the time here, or maybe even standing on the point, or you might have your tank like hanging out right here. And you are pretty safe over here. You can duck into this room. If you get really chased down, you even have a health pack over here, though I don't recommend, and over here. I don't recommend having to go this far away, but a lot of times you're going to get chased down when you're defending on this map in your Ana. And your teammates will just ignore you and say screw you, and they're not going to pay any attention. So, somewhere I like to position is actually on these stairs. You are able to, oop, we're inside the stairs. You're able to help with them going up high ground. You have view of them if they start coming from behind, and you have view of them as they start coming onto the point. The only thing you really lose is if they walk up main, you don't have a very good view, but all the other routes that they can come up, you have a pretty good view. Let's see what you do from here, and let's see if your teammate picks a character. That's a little concerning. Okay, so just walking down main, and you can see that they have a Roadhog now, so it's going to be a lot easier to land your nades, since they don't have a shield in the way. Ooh. The first Widow shot should alarm you that you're being shot at. Do you wear headphones? You might just be, you know, not as used to the game, so you're not reacting as quickly, but if you don't wear headphones, I'm just going to let you know that they are extremely important in this game. You went the wrong way here, and I'm going to say this is objectively the wrong way, because you're taking yourself further away. Let me show you. You spawned in this room, and the point is to the left, so you want to go this way because this is closer to the point. Instead of where you came out, you made yourself spawn further away. So that's an objective wrong door. I personally, I'm very big on finding different alternative routes to go, but this is, I've never actually seen someone go out this door, so it's a little bit funny. Not funny in like a haha you're bad way, just very interesting that you went out that door. It may be that you aren't as aware of maps. I said at the beginning, like, you probably were more aware of maps at this point. Nice sleep. And good job retreating and not trying to be a hero. There was no way you were going to take that and hold it for your team. So good job sleeping and when walking away. Anyway, I wasn't trying to be like, haha, it's so funny that you did that. It's just I was thinking at the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, you've probably got decent map awareness at this point after 200 hours. But things like that are just something that's going to improve the longer that you play. If you're feeling like you don't know a map very well, something that I highly, highly, highly recommend is to make a private game and just wander around the map. Check out the paths, check out the flank routes, check out the ways to get to high ground. Sort of see where you can go, and when you're at a place where you feel like it's a good vantage point, see what you can see from your character's point of view, and that's going to help you learn where that you should be and where you should be going. Make sure you're staying behind your tank. She's behind you, which should alarm you. You are staying pretty grouped up with your team, though, so you've done a good job about that. You did ask about high ground in your post, so I'll show you a spot that I like to defend from when the enemy team's coming down this hill. So when you're coming out of spawn, like you did, you came out over there where that door is. You can actually head up these stairs, and you can get to high ground up here. And you can shoot through here. You can usually heal your team unless they go behind this statue, which can be a little bit annoying. I'm not sure why a lot of their team is like really, I think that might be the spawn room. It just looks kind of far away from here. So they may just be respawning right now. But they're going to come down this corner, and you're going to have a great view of them. You're going to be able to get a big grenade off on them. As they come around the corner, I would aim to splash a grenade here so it rains down on them as they walk through, especially since they don't have a shield now. They have the Roadhog. And you have cover here. You can hide behind. You also have a, it's not super close, but you have a health pack down the stairs that you can grab if you need some help. You can drop down here and go get it a little more quickly if you need to, if you're getting chased or something like that. So that's a good high ground position you can take advantage of on this map. There's actually not a ton of high ground on this map that you can take advantage of, so I wouldn't worry too much about being on the floor on this one. There's some spots that like maybe a Widow can take better advantage of, but or maybe like a soldier because he can run and get places more quickly, but you need to be, in line of sight of your team to help them. So you don't want to be out of their view for too long getting to high ground. I would back up. That was a good nade. That was a good nade because let's watch that again. So you naded here as a response to the Roadhog hooking your Orisa in close. I'm a little nervous about how close you are. I would definitely back up if I were you. But you hit... Let's see exactly who you hit. So you didn't hit the Roadhog, but you tried to. You hit the Reaper, though. And if it was aimed... If you had just, like, tilted your what's the word? I'm gonna say cursor. I'm trying to say your crosshair. That's the one. If you aimed your crosshairs a little bit higher, you probably would have hit the other two as well. And then they did use Lucio's ult, so unfortunately that's going to protect them. But if they're purple, it should make them nervous enough to back up a few feet, give your team a little time to breathe, and hopefully get them down so that you might be able to finish them off once the ult wears off. It doesn't last too long.
Surrender to my will.
That thing on the ground that you're standing in is Roadhog's. You were sort of looking at it and wondering why you took damage, it looks like. So just in case you aren't familiar with that, it is newer. It was after Roadhog's rework. That's his trap. So if you stand in it, you're gonna take damage. It didn't hurt you too bad, but it slows you down and it does hurt you. So if you're standing in it, maybe, step to the side. Don't just keep standing in it because it's gonna, if you were lower health, they could have finished you off. Just be careful. It's good job nading him. That means he can't lifesteal. If you had your sleep there, you could have slept the Roadhog and stopped his ult. But you used it sort of randomly. And you stepped in his trap and died. It did finish you off like we were just talking about.
This is not the end.
My blade is ready to be unleashed.
Genji's telling you he has blade. Typically, when Genjis are saying my blade is ready, they're usually going to be talking to you. Genjis always want to get nanoed. That's just a fact of Overwatch life. So you're pretty close to nano. He might be waiting for you. So this is just sort of like a game communication kind of thing. But if you're not in voice chat, if you hear the the Genji telling you his blade is ready, I would say your alt line back to him and say, my nano boost is 75%. It's going to tell him when you say it. And then he will probably save his blade for a minute until you're ready, and then you guys can combo. You're doing a good job staying back, but you need to move to the side so that your payload's not in the way of your teammates. It can be really tricky because your tank will always, well, not always, when you get a little bit higher ranked, your tank will be slightly more aware, but even at higher ranks, sometimes the tank stands in front of the payload and you can't heal them. But just, make sure you're peeking side to side from the payload so that you're still using cover, but you can still see them to heal them. Orisa's on a bit of an adventure. Good instinct going back the way you came and not around the front. You nanoed Orisa, I think because you were worried about her, which is fair. You were trying to maybe save her life. So if that was your intent behind it, I don't mind that. She sort of walked into a whole group of people, though, which is a little scary, but we'll see what she does with it. The Roadhog's low, so it's possible she'll finish him off if she aims well. But I think you're going to get obliterated either way by the Reaper. I'm not sure if you noticed the Reaper, but in this case, since it was just like you and Orisa here, and she's walking away from you into the enemy, and you know for almost a fact that you're gonna die, I would have saved it because after you die, she's probably gonna die. And yeah, it looks like it actually worked out. Despite my criticisms, it did work out. And your Orisa's kind of popping off, so you know what? Your nano worked. You saved her, and she was able to get some kills. Like this cheeky turret on the payload situation you guys have going on. Even though Blake took a long time picking a character, he's at least protecting the payload from flankers. There's Reaper behind you. Worked out. You were able to kill him off, but just keep in mind to wait till he fades. But your Orisa helped, so not bad at all. Nice job sleeping the pig. The sad thing about Roadhog is that if he gets slept during his ult... Nice... Okay. I mean, let me finish my conversation about Roadhog. The annoying thing is if he gets slept during his ult, he wakes back up and continues shooting. Where back in Overwatch 1, he used to just cancel his ult. I do like that you heard the Widow and you immediately backed up under the cover of this awning here. So you said, oh, something's shooting me from above, I need to move over. That's a great instinct. You did try to stand and kill her after, which I don't recommend at your experience level. You shouldn't be probably trying to fight Widows in general. She can one-shot you, and you need to shoot, I'm going to say 3 times to kill her, but with the latest patch, it might be 4 times? I think it's still 3 times on Widow because her health's lower. So at least 3 shots to kill her, and she only needs 1 shot to kill you. At this rank, Widows are not going to be as scary because their aim is not going to be as reliable in Silver, but Widow's projectiles are large now, so she can hit you in the head really easily and one-shot you. Don't mess around with the Widow. Don't be in her line of sight. If you see a Widow shooting at you, just move. You don't need to take that duel. No, at least not right now. I think you hear the Reaper walking around up there. He's close to his ult, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for him. You can back up. You can back up. So you don't need to be this close to your team. I'm not sure with your duo Moira, maybe you're used to playing with her, and Moira does play a lot closer to the team. She has to be close to the team to heal. She has to be close to the enemy to do damage. But you don't need to be this close. There are some flankers, so there's some concerns, but just come back here. Check this out. You have safety of this wall. You can heal your team. You can even get shots up off on that Widow and that Lucio who's hanging out up there, and then peek back up here so they don't see you. Especially if you're shooting unscoped, which you've been doing this whole time. You can shoot an unscoped and just peek behind the wall. If the Widow's standing there, it'll hit her, and then you're safe before she even knows what happened. So just back up. Just play a little bit further away. It's not even so much as a question. I know you were worried about like playing in front of your tank, that kind of thing. You're not doing that kind of thing too often. Like sometimes you are, but look how exposed you are. Like if I'm this Roadhog, wait to see. Look, he can see you right there. He can shoot right at you. The Widow, if she comes out, she can see you right there. Actually, nobody on your team is using any cover, which I get it. It's lower ranks. People don't really know that much about cover quite yet at this point. But it doesn't hurt to get into the habit now. So this wall is right next to you. Just peek behind it, and you'll be so much safer. It's going to be great. Used a nade to keep the Orisa alive there. That wasn't a bad nade at all. Your team's actually not been too bad at taking the Lucio down, which is surprising, because when I was in Silver, I feel like people could not shoot a Lucio to save their lives. And I'd use my nade to purple him a lot to get rid of him, but you guys have been able to get rid of him pretty easily. Yeah, Reaper's definitely coming to ult, so you should hear him up there. You know he's coming, and you know it's been a little time since he's ulted. Back up to this wall. Even if the rest of your team gets killed by him, you are going to be far away. You can sleep him from further away because you'll see him coming. It's going to be easier to get that sleep off before your entire team is dead. He's above you, I think. Yeah, you would have been saved if you backed up or at least been able to escape, I think.
It's almost ready.
I think that was one of the moments you said, I just throw my sleep into a group of people. That's what you did there. That sleep didn't really benefit anything, so yeah, just hang on to it. You don't need to use it off cooldown. It's totally okay to keep your ability and use it when you need it. So just try not to just toss it into a bunch of people. The only time that like that's not a mistake is maybe when the fight's just starting and you know that they don't have a flanker who's going to be coming to terrorize you. You can get away with stuff like that, but in general, wait until there's a threat. You want to sleep alts, you want to sleep flankers, and you want to sleep major threats to your team. Ooh, that would have been such a good nade. You got two of them, but if you had aimed up a little bit, you would have hit the whole team. It would have been great. I know you know the soldier's there because you looked at him and then you walked away, but your Orisa is okay. I know you wanted to follow her to keep her alive, so I think you left the soldier back there for a minute to make sure your Orisa was okay. She's full health. The Roadhog is only half health, and the rest of his team is not there. So you could have helped to deal with the soldier first, get him off the point and get him killed, because having him gone for the next fight's going to be great. But it looks like Moira took care of him already. So pretty good. Especially since I know you guys are probably communicating. Maybe she said, don't worry about the soldier, I've got him, that kind of thing. That would have been a good nade opportunity. I think you just threw it. Yeah, that's a good one. You only hit the hog, but that's okay. It was a good instinct. It was a good try.
My will.
This point can be a little bit tricky to hold when the payload's sort of right here and they're coming out of this spawn. I don't recommend your team going up further than where this light is in the crosswalk area here. If they start going out here, it's going to be a little hard for you guys to defend, but hopefully it looks like they're hanging back a little bit, so it looks like they know that. For you, let's see. You can move back a little bit. The payload might hinder you a little bit. So I don't usually recommend playing behind this corner, but with the payload here, you can use it as cover too. The reason I don't recommend this is that if they start pushing up, you have to cross the street in front of all of them to get to safety, which is not great. Or you would have to run away with your back to them, which you're probably not going to survive. So typically here, you want to play this corner, but the payload's sort of in your way of healing your team. So just make sure you're taking cover. You're a little bit close to the team, again, like we've talked about, so just back up a little bit. This isn't the worst thing. This isn't the worst thing, but just for keeping in mind for positioning. Your life's going to be a lot easier when you back up. You're going to be able to aim a lot better. Oop, you're in front of everybody. It's scary. I think you end up in these situations where you're in front of your tank and in front of your team because you're playing so close to them. So your team starts retreating, and then you are just left in the forefront of everything. So if you're playing further back, this is going to stop happening to you. Nice job on the Reaper. I don't even mind that nade to finish him off, even though you were sort of using it because you weren't able to hit him. That's okay. Finishing off the Reaper is more important. Right, we're getting close. I have a feeling your team's going to win here. We'll see how this Soldier Visor goes.
Surrender to my will.
Coalescence is coming in clutch, probably. Oh, she got.
I'm at maximum strength.
You're gonna have nano soon here, so yeah, no way you lose this. Perfect. So yeah, definitely a lot of things that you can work on. However, I don't think it's as bad as you're making it out to be. So your aim is a problem because you're playing too close to your team and because you're not using the scoped portion of your gun. Once you start using your scope and playing further back, your aim is going to improve, especially over time. It doesn't look like your sensitivity's like super off or anything like that. Sometimes I see replays where people just have like either way too low or way too high sensitivity, and of course sensitivity is a personal thing, and if it works for you then it works, but your sensitivity looked fine. Aiming up on your nades is going to help you hit more of them, and then just saving your sleep for flankers and for alts, which you were trying to sleep alts, so you have a good instinct about that already. I don't think that there's anything going wrong that you can't fix easily with a little more practice.